Hey guys, Jay Young here with Young Red Angus. Thank you so much for making this video right here a part of your day. If you guys have been watching the channel, then you know I'm a big proponent and advocate for regenerative agriculture. And I think a great way to improve your soil health is interseeding cover crops within your corn and some of your other cash crops. So I don't want to get into the pros and cons of that in this video because I've got other videos covering it. In this video, I specifically just want to go over in detail the Hiniker cover crop interseeder that we've recently purchased and help you guys make a decision. What equipment do I want on our farming operation? So we'll kind of go over and talk about what the pros and cons of owning a piece of equipment are like this. We'll cover the pros and cons of owning the equipment that we were using before this year and kind of cover what the benefits are of each machine so that you can weigh out which machine do I want in my farming operation and what's going to work best for me. So we're going to roll the intro and we'll get into the video and help you guys make an informed decision on what equipment do I need for interseeding cover crops in our operation.
And this is what we all feel, let's just not deny it. Something pulls and it tears in the deepest place. This is what we all know, why must we still fight it? It's time to open our eyes and acknowledge the writing on the wall.
Okay guys, this is the original piece of equipment that we bought in 2020 to interseed cover crops into our corn. It's a 520 John Deere disc drill. It's 20 feet wide. It's on 10-inch spacing. So we just dropped every third row off to interseed cover crops within our corn. It worked great for doing what we wanted to do with, which was, hey, let's see if this actually works. Let's see if we like interseeding cover crops within our corn, because it only cost $1,800. So if you're getting started and you're not sure, comfortable just jumping in and purchasing a bigger piece of equipment like the Hiniker drill that cost us $56,000, I think a new one now is $70-some thousand. That's what you probably want to get started by purchasing in a piece of equipment like this. The pros are that it's affordable. And it's, it's fairly reliable as far as a piece of equipment goes. I don't have these older, earlier versions of these disc drills, don't typically break down very hard. And then if you have issues with them, it's easy to get parts. So that would be the pros, is that it's affordable. The parts are easy to come by as far as, getting them on, and it's fairly reliable, that chain system. And if it breaks, you know what's going on, as opposed to some of the issues we have with our newer technology. The cons is when you're mixing a bunch of different cover crop seeds together, it's got a calibration instructions on the back of this piece of equipment that tells you how to set it up for how many pounds for whatever crop that you're drilling. It's not set for cover crops. So figuring out how to calibrate this for the cover crops that you're interseeding into your corn is kind of difficult. The other thing is because it's only 20 feet wide and you can only go about 5 miles an hour, it makes it difficult to cover a lot of acres in this piece of equipment. It would take me a full day to do 120 acres, actually more than that, a day and a few hours into the next day if I'm doing a 12-hour, 10-hour day on the field. So the other thing is it takes a while to fill this thing up when you're interseeding cover crops within your corn, and so you're constantly stopping to fill it up, and so that all adds to the time of how long it takes you to interseed cover crops into your corn. So if you have a lot of acres, you're not going to be able to cover a lot of acres in this piece of equipment in a short amount of time. So those are the things that you want to think about when purchasing a drill. If you're wanting to get started, wanting something reliable, this will work fine. The other thing to think about is if you're in really hard conditions, this machine's not made for no-till conditions. It's made for ground that's been plowed, and then those discs kind of go in there. They're not discs. They're meant to break up no-till conditions. So those are all things that you got to think about on whether or not you want this piece of equipment or the Hiniker cover crop interseeder that we're going to talk about right now. Now that we've talked about the 520 John Deere disc drill, let's talk about the Hiniker cover crop interseeder that Hiniker is made for specifically for interseeding cover crops within your corn. Full disclosure, Hiniker is not a sponsor of the show. If they want to be a sponsor in the future, amazing. The point is that I'm covering this piece of equipment to give you the pros and the cons, and this isn't like a paid advertisement for them. We switched to the Hiniker because we wanted something that was faster and that would cover more acres, and that we could calibrate and have accuracy as far as how many seeds were going out per acre. In the journey that we took, we were originally going to buy Dawn row units and buy a Hiniker or a Grandy seed box and build our own. In that process, in that journey, I made the decision that we were going to do the Dawn row units. We were going to have a Grandy box, and we were going to build our own equipment. In that process, I was still contacting other companies and asking questions about the Hiniker and some of the other ones. We came across this piece of equipment. It was lightly used for 1 year. This is a 2021 or 2022. The guy was using it last year in 2022. Ended up not being able to use it anymore, and so they traded it in. It only cost us $56,000, and a new one cost $70,000. So just the savings alone is why we went with this particular unit. And since I've got it, I've liked it. So the speed, this covers 16 rows of corn and interseeded cover crops. In between 16 rows of corn, we can go on, depending on how many seeds per acre we're putting out. So on irrigated, we go a little slower. We go 7 miles an hour. I was doing 8 miles an hour, 7 to 8, depending on how rough the field was on our dryland corn. So it covers a lot more acres. I really like that about it. Calibration is extremely easy because it comes with this box, and this box has all the instructions right here on how to calibrate your machine. So you put the seed in the top right here, and then you crank this handle 10 times to get the weight that comes out of this box. So that's going to represent the 10 revolutions that your meter is taking on the back. Also, if you got to check to see if you have the fine meter or the aggressive meter on there. So we have the fine ones in there, so we blocked off this one with that. So block that off, count what's coming out of the fine meter. So we count 10 revolutions, we get the weight there, we have our weight from this piece of, from this box. So once we take that out of the box, we just keep following the instructions here. Weigh that product that came out of the box, multiply the weight of the metered product by the number of outlets used on this machine. So this machine has 32 outlets, so we're going to take that number by 32. So let's say it weighed 5 pounds. 5 times 32 is 160. So divide the weight in step 3 by 10 to obtain the average weight meted out by every shaft. So 160 divided by 10 is 16. All right, so now we have number 16. Divide the number of teeth on the sprocket. There's 36 teeth on the sprocket. So that sprocket, it's a sprocket speed sensor is on that. You can see it because you can see this speed sensor on that sprocket, so you'll know which one it is. We divide the number of teeth, there's 36 on there, by the number obtained in step 4, which was 16. So 36 divided by 16 is 2.25. All right, I'm not doing that math in my head. I already calculated it before. I don't want you to think I know math extremely well. I don't. So anyway, on 6, input the number from the speed, or from step 5 into the 8160 console impulse per pound. So you put that in the monitor. It's really simple. I'm going to show you that as we cover the monitor, but it's really, really easy to do. Okay, this monitor is super user-friendly. All right, it is made to put on dry fertilizer or to be a spray boom monitor. So when you get into it, if you want to go to the main menu, you push the set button and hold that for a few seconds. Is this an NH3 application? So that's the dry fertilizer. You say yes because it's your cover crop seed that you're doing. And to say yes, to hit enter, you hold on the set button. If you want to say no, you push the down button to no, but we're going to keep it in yes. Hit the set deal again. This is where you set rate 1, and there's 2 options, rate 1 and rate 2. So if you want to do different rates to see what you're doing, or see what different rates do throughout the field, you just set it or go between rate 1 and rate 2. So we're on 18 pounds for rate 1, 20 pounds for rate 2. Okay, when it gets to the boom section, it'll say left boom 0. You don't want to mess with that. You just hit set to go to the next deal. It says center boom 480. So that's how it should come. It should come set where it has 480 is the actual distance all the way across. So you don't worry about these toggle switches that say left, center, and right. And that center boom is just the length of the entire planter. Right boom, same thing. Servo valve response, I just left that the way the factory had set it. Now, flow meter pulse per pound. This is the number that you place in when you calibrate. Okay, so I covered that already with the calibration. And then this is the distance cal pulse per feet. Mine, I was going to calibrate this. It's really simple in the instructions on how to calibrate it. But when I got it, because it had already been calibrated and was going the same speed my tractor was showing, I didn't have to worry about the distance calibration. And it's all in your instructions on how to calibrate it. So you go to the next deal. That takes you back to, there's another menu. So we're not going to go to that menu. If you want to go to that other menu, you hit up and hit set. Okay, once you go through everything, it says go to options menu. This is where you can do all your calibrations. We don't need to go there, so we just hit set and it goes back to the main menu. Okay, as I'm going through the field, you know, if an error flashes up, this light will flash and it will tell me what's going wrong. In the manual book, it has an error section and it'll tell you all the issues that you might be having with your area. This tells me the volume that I've put out total. You can toggle through these. You can go to speed, volume, area, and it'll tell you all of that you've covered. It's very simple, very user-friendly. All right, let's cover the equipment real quick. So right here on this frame, it's got a nice thick frame to it. If you are putting one together and building your own, you want a nice thick solid frame to go on. So that's something that you are going to want to think about, and you want to talk to somebody who's already built their own, because there was a lot of things I didn't realize going into building these that you'll want to know. The rotor units are really nice, and they're fairly simple. They have the dual discs down here that open the ground really well, and it's worked so far extremely well for us in the conditions that we've had. Got the fan on the back that blows the air to each individual row unit. Getting used to it, we plug some of these hoses occasionally, so you want to make sure when you're getting used to it and getting started, you'll want to check those hoses to make sure that they're not getting plugged. For filling it, you pop these hinges off the side, open it up, and you can fill it with a John Deere 520, or you can fill it with a 520 Bobcat. That size series or bigger, it'll get high enough that you can fill this up when it's setting on the ground. Or if you plant corn and you use a box, you can use one of your empty corn seed boxes, put your cover crop seed in that and fill it that way. That's the easiest way to fill it. It's easier than filling it with a box, because we would get to like right here and then you'd have to push everything over. It will hold a little bit more than like a 2,000 pound bag of cover crop seed. So like if you picture the cover crop seed like that you get like from Green Cover Seed that we get, that will work, and we'll put that in there. And so it's pretty simple. I'm doing 20 pounds an acre, and so we'll put 20,000 or 2,000 pounds in, so I know that I can do 100 acres before I have to fill up and top it off. That it's so if you're doing it that way, it's pretty straightforward. This brings us to the final question that you have to ask yourself: what equipment do I want to purchase if I'm wanting to interseed cover crops in our operation? If you're only wanting to do a few hundred acres, the 520 John Deere disc drill might be the way you want to go. You can find those on Big Iron or one of the other auction sites that you can put in the cover crop seed. So what equipment is going to work best for you? If you have a couple hundred acres, you don't need to cover that many acres, the 520 John Deere disc drill probably will work really great for you. You can get that, I'm guessing a used one you can get on Big Iron fairly affordably. For us in our situation, where we did 4 irrigated circles and we did 2 dryland fields, We need the bigger piece of equipment, and especially where I believe firmly that we're going to find a cover crop mix that's going to work really well on dry land corn, because plants share micronutrients with one another. I know that we're going to find a cover crop mix that's going to help our corn with drought tolerance. I haven't found it yet, but I know it's something that we're going to be able to find. That's why we went to this piece of equipment. So I hope this video was helpful for you. Leave in the comments below what videos that you want us to cover in the future regarding interseeding cover crops in corn. And remember to keep pursuing soil health. This is Jay Young signing off.